Hello everyone, welcome to this new video. So today, as a weekly update, I have Vin Ho to discuss about the recent announcement. Tariff has been buzzing in all the news, so I'm very happy to have Vin again. Hey mate, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
So Vin, can you give us a brief understanding about what is the reciprocal tariff and how it's going to affect import-export globally?
As you know, Trump just announced new tariffs this week, and on Monday he said he's going to increase or slap 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canadian goods and up to 20% on Chinese goods. And then Tuesday they went into effect. So we saw chaos quite a bit on Tuesday, but then the next day, Wednesday, he said he's going to put off um, the Mexican tariffs for 1 month, and then he's going to not tariff or delay 1 month for Canadian or for the auto industry. So right away we see lots of chaos, instability, and I think the market decreased quite a bit as he announced them. So those are is what's happening right now.
Very interesting. So, Vin, getting back to the fundamental, how usually countries imply tariff on imported goods, and what is this reciprocal tariff between US and then China, for instance, and other countries like Vietnam? Can you give us an understanding about how it basically works?
As you mentioned, there are now retaliatory tariffs. So other countries now are increasing their tariffs on goods entering their country. So Canada, Mexico, China are doing the same. They've increased their tariffs to make American goods and services more expensive, to punish, to try to change America's behavior. So that's what the foreign governments are doing. So we're seeing it's a lose lose situation because American consumers will be paying more for their daily consumption of goods, products that we get from Mexico, including limes, avocados, fruits, vegetables, because it's the winter season now, and then for example, clothing, textiles, shoes, furniture, electronics from China, and LED lighting, any of those TV screens and things like that, all come from China. And then just like Vietnam, mostly clothing, are those types, shoes, sports shoes, sneakers, light, types of products. So all of that Americans are paying more. And then if you're in the agriculture industry, if you're producing farm equipment to be exported or services to be exported abroad, now those industries will be in jeopardy because it's now more expensive to export that. So that's what's happening.
Obviously, every time Trump makes such an announcement, you have the countries that are also reacting, right? And then basically it's a bubble effect and then domino effect, and two countries are trying also to show the US that they are not only relying on exporting to their country. What would be, do you think, the trend? Do you think that there's going to be a diversification in supply chain? Do you think people who used to be doing sourcing, for instance, in China, they will be reallocating the supply chain? How do you think big companies going to take into effect those tariffs?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good point because the reasoning behind these tariffs from Donald Trump's point of view is we want to make products and services more expensive so the manufacturing comes back to America. But that's really a fallacy. That's simple thinking because, as you know these days, the integration of supply chains, the economics, it's across borders several times. And then for certain products, for example, low cost items, America can't make everything, and plus we don't have the labor, the affordable and cheap labor to produce products that would be affordable. For example, if you go to Costco, Target, Walmart, a lot of those daily goods, from your desk to electronic parts to cell phones, all of those items need to be produced in other countries at a lower cost so Americans can consume them. American can buy them and use them every day. So that's a fallacy in terms of waiting for manufacturing to come back to the United States. Some industries might, but it's very limited. it's not worth it. In fact, during the first presidential Trump administration, we saw the high tariffs on Chinese goods, and then they retaliated on American farmers and their equipment, soybeans, and things like that. So, in fact, we saw a net loss of jobs. I think we saved 8,700 jobs in the steel industry, but then we lost like 70,000 service industry that supports trade. So, it's just a bad economic policy, and we're shooting ourselves in the foot, and it doesn't make sense.
Very interesting, Vin. So you are actually working as a custom broker for your company. So basically, you are the one doing all the paperwork and making sure that all the paper are compliant to make containers entering the US market. I guess you have a lot of insight from people in your industry about the direction or how those groups are behaving related to, again, diversification. Like how are they preparing about new shifts to help all the supply chain to move faster?
There's 2 points I want to make here. One of them, with the industry I'm in, I do, like you said, the customs brokerage paperwork for importers. So let's clear up the other fallacy. Donald Trump and others believe that foreign countries and foreign manufacturers are paying the higher tariff, but in fact, it's the American importer that is paying the higher tariff. As you mentioned, I help these companies, American importers, do their paperwork. So when there's a 25% increase on goods coming from Mexico, Canada, or China, they're going to be paying higher tariffs or duties, and then they have to return and then charge the American consumer more to cover their costs. Because as a business person, you don't want to sell products at a loss; you just go out of business. And then to answer your other question, yes, so we're seeing a diversification in supply chains. So not necessarily companies are moving back to America, but then they start to think about where to get other products into other countries. For example, if they were sourcing from China, China now has a 20% duty, then they're going to go and try to find similar products in Vietnam or India or other parts of the region. They're just going to search because it's cheaper to do that than to come back to America and invest in a multi-million dollar or billion-dollar facility, find the land, build the warehouse, find the workers, and then import product. How long would that take? And how much will that cost? Why would you even do that? That could take 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And then you don't know if you're going to make a profit. You were once making clothing or shoes or low cost items in China, Vietnam, and then now you bring that back to America. How can you get the Americans to work at that low labor rate to make their products affordable? They're not going to be affordable anymore. They're going to be 5, 10, 20 times more expensive. So there are lots of challenges and problems there.
So companies were already having this diversification in mind. Now you think probably it's going to also touch SMEs, right? So companies probably importing 10 containers per year, they'll be also doing this type of diversification, and they'll be also looking to diversify and then to source from, as you mentioned, probably India, Indonesia, Vietnam. What would be the challenges that they may face? Because if they are used to do business in China, it may be easy, right? You attend one time per year at a trade show, you have all the manufacturers there, and you can directly place order. In emerging markets such as Vietnam, Indonesia, India, it doesn't work the same. So how should they equip themselves and prepare to be able to allocate and diversify the supply chain efficiently?
Yeah, it's not easy. Just an example is like, for you like a certain type of food, and you go to a restaurant and you get that food all of the time, um, and then all of a sudden they say it's going to be 25% increase. So it used to be $10 for you to get your meal. Now it's going to be 12.50, and then you're say, okay, you're fed up. You're not gonna pay that. You're used to the $10 a meal. You were happy. It was good food. Now you have to go and find the similar meal somewhere else at a little bit, hopefully at a cheaper cost, and same quality, but it's very, very difficult to find the exact same taste, exact same quality, and that you were happy at $10. So you might have to go across town. You might have to go search for a different area. So it's disruptive to your life, and you probably, or there's a good likelihood that you cannot find that. So same thing here. Companies will have to look at alternatives. They'll be looking at Vietnam. They'll be looking at Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, other places in Southeast Asia. But there's a good chance they won't be getting the same exact quality or what they were used to. So that's the big problem. For example, Canadian lumber, Americans import a lot of that for the housing and construction industry. Well, where else are they going to look? What other country can produce lumber at that good quality, the high standards, at a decent price that's near the U.S. in terms of logistics and shipping and all that? What other country is going to step in and produce that? It's going to be a hard one. So there are some big problems, big obstacles, and it's not as easy to switch that out as people think.
Okay, and then that trend of Trump beginning. Okay, Vin, and then that trend of Trump making big announcement, and then after that probably rescheduling the implementation of those policy. How do you think it's gonna turn? Like Americans gonna get just used to that, and then they're gonna just say, okay, he just say it, but nothing really happened. Or do you think there will be strong actions, especially from big groups, who will be somehow fed up of this type of approach, and then we'll be really looking for long-term solutions into, I don't know, really making a factory in Mexico or going to neighboring countries to try to really invest there to build up supply chain nearby.
Yeah, we've already seen that. Trump announced 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, and then the auto industry the next day, the three big companies, Ford, Chevrolet, GM, they complained. They called and had a meeting with Trump and said, if you do this, we're going to lose a lot of business. We're gonna have to close plants, and we're gonna have to, let a lot of workers go. So that will increase the unemployment rate. Many people won't have jobs in the Midwest, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, those states that have the manufacturing for the auto industry. And so then Donald Trump backtracked right away, and he said he's going to, I think, wait another 30 days before he implements that. So right there, it brings some chaos, uncertainty for some businesses, and then, as you mentioned, the pricing that goes up. It's hard to decrease that. For example, eggs now in America, it used to be a year ago, I think $2.59, $3, $4, something like that. Now it's jumped to $8 or $9, and in some places are seeing $10 or $12 per dozen of eggs. So once the price goes up, it's hard to get it down because there are a lots of people that might want to fight for that, special interest groups, and then businesses, and so it's hard to bring the prices back down to quote unquote normal levels. It might go down a little bit, but once it goes up, it's hard to go back down, and so Americans will have to keep paying higher prices. We'll have inflation, so it'll be more expensive to find and buy a home, for your daily groceries, and then for your clothing that's coming all from other countries. So there's a no-win situation. Yes, there's nothing good about it other than the American Treasury is making a little bit more money, collecting more duties and taxes, but that's being paid by the American consumer. So not a really good trade-off.
Okay, it's a very interesting summary, Vin. So inflation is there and create chaos on the supply chain, and then big retailers are also fed up by these policies, so they are also somehow hitting back, right? And then explaining that look, they cannot work with this type of policies and then rules. What will be the upcoming development you think, and in the future? What do you expect from your side?
Yeah, I think with having Donald Trump in office, it's you can't. It's unpredictable. You don't know what he's going to do. He'll announce things, then he'll pull back. He's a true believer in tariffs. He thinks it's a good idea because he doesn't think that the American consumers are paying. In his mind, he thinks that foreign countries are paying, so we should punish them to change their behavior, to change their habits. So there's a problem in his thinking, and it's going to cause more problems if he continues down this road. But I think more people will stand up. I think you'll see as the longer that he continues to increase and keep these tariffs in place, the American consumer will be more fed up. The voters, the American everyday Americans, and companies will start complaining, and then the market will decrease, and we'll see if he listens or not to change those habits. But I don't think so. So I think right now we're in a bad situation, and my prediction is by summer, maybe 2 or 3 more months now, we'll see really high inflation. Everything's going to be more expensive, and there's really no good way to get out of it.
Very clear, Vin. I mean, it's good that we are doing those weekly updates so we can also discuss and then share our perspective on supply chain and then all those tariff and how it has impact actually also in the other part of the world, right? Because every time Trump is announcing something on the other side, it's shaking. And so it creates chaos, but it also creates opportunities. So it's always good to see the two sides of the equation. Do you have a final word for our audience to tease us for the next upcoming videos?
Yeah, I guess right now it's just wait and see, and it's always interesting with the Trump administration.
Okay, thank you very much, Jean.
Okay, great, great. Thanks, Guillaume.